I watched a movie every day for a month, and now I'm going to rank them, along with my thoughts. Welcome to the Third Win channel and a very special video. Now, why have I done this? I wanted to watch more movies, expand my movie knowledge, and see if an experience like this would have an effect on me. How did I do this? Well, I had just enough time to watch a movie a day for 31 days. I tried to watch mostly movies I had not seen before, although there were a few exceptions. I even went to a film festival and watched a movie premiere a week before it was officially released. Enough of that, however. Let's get into the meat of the video, a detailed ranking from the 31st best movie to the best movie. Remember, this is based on my opinions and my tastes. You will disagree with me somewhere, but I'll give my reasoning for each of my rankings and I'll try to keep it as clean from spoilers as possible. The worst movie of the 31 is Clueless, which is a coming-of-age story about a teenage girl who during the course of the movie grows from a somewhat shallow popular girl to one with a little more perspective. The movie is very self-aware and satirical in some ways, poking fun at contemporary Hollywood teenagers. This movie is obviously a product of the 90s and made sense at the time, I'm sure, but it's now left with a lot of dated references and generally a bit of a dull watching experience. Next up, number 30 is a movie I had high expectations for, hearing so many people reference the main character, Napoleon Dynamite, which also happens to be the name of the film. Now, for Napoleon Dynamite, I think the critic Kaleem Aftab sums it up perfectly. He says, "This film can be utterly brilliant 1 minute and less than zero a second later. It's an oddball film whose attempt at mainstream seduction may make it all too easy to overrate." The best moments in Napoleon Dynamite is where we get to see a character comfortable in his own skin and owning it, like Napoleon on the horse in the post-credits scene, or when he stuns at the talent show, or when he's rocking his new suit. Now I feel that, in a strange way, Napoleon is like Chad's weird cousin, but in the best way. He's still a great character. The slow and dry story and visuals, however, don't excite, leaving this movie feeling underwhelming most of the time. Some of the scenes are genuinely awful. It also doesn't help how the quote-unquote high schoolers look like they're in their mid-30s, but I did get some genuine laughs here, and Pedro is a great sidekick, but overall a weird film. Next, number 29, Game Over Man. An incredibly silly movie about three guys working as maids at a hotel in their mid-20s, and they all seem frustrated with where they are. They are all flawed in their own way, and so is their friendship, but one thing that they're all passionate about is their video game ideas. They finally get a shot to present their video game ideas to a potentially big money investor at a party at the hotel that they work at, but then the party gets hijacked by terrorists, and it's up to the three friends to save the people at the party. This movie is no masterpiece, and the story is weak, and the characters are forgettable, but I would lie if I said that it wasn't entertaining. The silly, goofy, and immature humor does its job, and gets a few laughs, but that's it. Now, a special entry on this list, a brand new movie, Halloween Kills, coming in at number 28. I saw this movie live, pre-release at a horror movie film festival, and it was exciting. Every kill in the movie had the audience cheering, and I thought it was amazing. The more creative the kill, the crazier the audience went. But down to the facts, Halloween Kills is the 12th installment of the Halloween franchise, and it brought back plenty of original characters including Jamie Lee Curtis's famous role. This movie, however, has almost no story, it's messy, and it does not add anything new to the genre. The movie is even filmed in a dual retro vibe, which I don't think helps very much, as the movie isn't that scary. Worst of all, I think it hurts Michael Myers' character, but the scene with Michael standing in front of the house on fire, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I must say. But overall, yeah, very meh. At number 27, we have Dinner for the Schmucks. This movie follows a nearsighted man in a corporate job who loses grip of what is important, but along the way he makes a new, unlikely friend. Paul Rudd's main character here is quite forgettable and unlikable, but Steve Carell's Barry, while annoying at times, is also incredibly beautiful as a character. His hobby or grieving mechanism of taxidermy on mice is lovely and propels this movie out of its otherwise unrealistic and weird scenario. This movie isn't great, but I enjoyed the best parts of Steve Carell's character. Number 26, Couples Retreat. A fun little movie about four couples and the perils of adult relationships. Although this was a relaxing watch where I could just tune off for the most part, the characters could have been done so much better. The dynamics between a full four couples was fully underutilized. This also ties in with a lack of a good story. Not sure what this movie wanted to be or what it tried to say, but it was fun for what it was. Number 25 is an Adam Sandler remake of the original The Longest Yard. I've not seen the original, but from what I've heard, it's a classic, great movie about football. That being said, I'll talk about the remake as a standalone movie. The Longest Yard is about a group of prisoners playing a football game against the guards. The film spoon-feeds to us why the prisoners dislike the guards, and I feel that they could have pushed this harder, sending more of a message about the guards at the prison being unnecessarily brutal. This could have helped build our prisoners' characters better. Overall, this movie is a feel-good watch, but I'm not sure what the message was or what I gained from watching it. Number 24 features Will Ferrell's breakout role, and the movie is Old School, a story about a bunch of old-timers wanting to relive their younger days, and they do so by creating a college fraternity, but they don't go to a college. The premise and most of the characters make no sense, but if you disregard that, this is an entertaining party movie where you get to see a relatively young Will Ferrell do Will Ferrell things like run down the street naked. Lastly, this movie's main character is completely forgettable and Vince Vaughn's character is poor. Number 23, The Wedding Ringer, struggles from a lot of the same issues as Old School, especially in the making sense department, but it has a much more well put together plot and features some good laughs from Kevin Hart and Josh Gad. A very surprising partnership. The movie benefits greatly from a more modern production and a great soundtrack. When it comes down to it, however, the supporting characters are boring and the concept of a business that bases itself off the idea that many men can't find best men is preposterous. If you look past that, it's an enjoyable movie, and I can't get enough of Josh Gad singing. Next on the list is what many consider an Adam Sandler classic, Mr. Deeds, which is, by the way, also a remake. This movie is about a small-town pizza owner who ends up mystically inheriting $40 billion. The movie centers itself around Mr. Deeds and the impact this inheritance has on him. I enjoyed a more serious role from Adam Sandler and a story with an underlying message about money and wealth. This movie, however, struggles to be interesting all the way through, as Mr. Deeds is just a fairly laid-back guy. The ending was far too goofy, and the acting from Winona Ryder was just passable. Adam Sandler's characters often have a quirk, and I loved Mr. Deeds' card-writing quirk. Overall, the movie is slightly underwhelming. Next on this list at number 21 is another Adam Sandler movie, a more recent one, Murder Mystery. The movie follows an unlicensed detective and his slightly tired marriage. The married couple take a trip to Europe and miraculously end up on a yacht with super wealthy people on board, but things get crazy when someone is murdered. This movie does a great job of not being too predictable and making you keep guessing till the very end. The movie, however, does not give you enough clues and interactions to actually allow you to figure out who done it before it is revealed, which I did not appreciate. The kill itself was also done terribly and in a very uninteractive way. Some good laughs and guessing games, but not the greatest murder mystery film to ever come out. Next up, and cracking into the top 2/3 here, number 20 is The Internship. This was actually the first movie I watched on this list, and I liked it. The idea of two fired salesmen with a dated sense of humor competing for a job at a highly woke Google was funny, and strangely, the chemistry between the two old-timers and the younger cast seemed realistic. The difference between the generations and the interactions involved between the old and the younger is what made this movie funny and entertaining. Where this movie struggles is the ending, and the attempt of tying romance in. Lessons to be learned from this movie for anyone. Solid. Number 19, Jumanji, The Next Level, or Jumanji 3. The Jumanji franchise is visually stunning and features an all-star cast, always. It's set to deliver. However, this sequel to the reboot a few years ago falls flatter. Despite adding a few extra characters, the original feeling of learning how the game works and learning about our Jumanji game characters was fun. The sequel just extends on it. I found Kevin Hart playing as an old man was very funny, and the movie was fun. It's just a little misguided story-wise, and I did not love the ending. Number 18, The Tourist. With stars like Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie at the helm, you're already off to a good start. But one of the issues is that their chemistry is, well, anywhere from strange to bad. The supporting characters are quite forgettable as well. Why is this movie so high on the list then? Well, I enjoy the slightly chaotic story and twists and turns it takes while maintaining a light tone. Most of all, the setting and visuals of the film are stunning, set in the beautiful city of Venice. Next, a rom-com, with a slight twist to the general rom-com formula. It's How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. This movie, starring Matthew McConaughey, sees a man and a woman both trying to win a bet that involves one another. It's complicated, but it makes for a good twist to an otherwise standard rom-com that ticks all the boxes. The chemistry between the two leads is undeniable, and most of the supporting cast falls a little flat. Overall, it's an enjoyable watch. Number 16, That Awkward Moment. This movie proposes that in every newfound romantic leaning relationship, there is a moment, an awkward one, where the relationship is questioned. I found this idea intriguing, and I like the young cast here and the chemistry between them, despite the story lacking some much needed structure. In the end, it's a good watch, but the idea and theory trumps the movie itself. Now, we've passed the halfway point. This is where we start getting into some really great movies in their respective genres. At number 15, we have Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, or Jumanji 2. As mentioned previously, this was better than the sequel. A great cast full of Hollywood all-stars and us, the viewers, slowly learning about this world, a game full of surprises. As mentioned before, a visually stunning franchise. I guess where the film's weaknesses show is in the story itself, and in some chemistry issues in the cast. The reboot as a whole is probably over Hollywoodified, but I was surprised by this movie nonetheless. I enjoyed it. Number 14 is Happy Gilmore, a true Sandler classic, a story about how the traditional is not the only way to go. The film also fully grasps the idea of prejudice and the effects on personal image, yada yada. I thought Sandler's character was very well played, and it helped that he was flawed, but he had good intentions. Very fun, and it leaves you thinking at the end. Number 13 is somewhat of a family classic, with some rich lessons for younger audiences. It's Wild Child. Wild Child is a movie about a spoiled young American girl that is sent to a correctional school for young girls in England. I have nothing bad to say about this movie, as I think its message of gaining appreciation and culture are important ones. The mix between American and English culture is entertaining as well, and it is done quite well. Why is this movie not higher on the list then? It lacks some excitement, I guess. It comes down to me liking the next 12 movies more, but this is a great family movie. The next movie is another murder mystery. Number 12 is Knives Out, a fairly new movie. This film is littered with stars, and the story is of a murder of a wealthy author. The intrigue of this movie comes from the relationship the audience has with the storytelling. I, however, think there are better murder mysteries. I like more mystery in my favorites, but this film is stunning and well made, and deserves the praise. Just outside the top 10, we have Hitch at number 11. Might seem weird to put a rom-com like Hitch above critically acclaimed movies like Knives Out, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more. I love the idea of the movie with the ultimate wingman helping out the ones in need, and the cast is fantastic. Best of all is the message that we receive towards the end, that there is no formula for this stuff, and the interactions are best when they come naturally. And when the attraction is mutual and natural. A long way of saying the movie has a great message, although yes, a little cheesy. Now, we crack into the top 10. At number 10, we have Scream. This movie revitalized, or more accurately, modernized the slasher genre in 1996. Scream added some much-needed humor to the genre, and it does not sacrifice the storytelling in doing so. The movie kept me guessing till the end, and it has many memorable lines, like for example where Sidney says, "This is life. This isn't a movie." And Bill responds, "Sure it is, Sid. It's all one big movie. Only you can't pick your genre." Great film. Next on the list at number 9, it's a sports film, one that I thought was quite inspiring and different. It's Rudy. Rudy is based off of a real story cited by the real Rudy as 95% accurate. The movie shows that sometimes even with hard work, some desires are unattainable, and the journey is the key. Rudy is a beautiful movie which highlights the success of failure. Does that make any sense? I don't know, but I love how this was not over Hollywoodified. The movie surprised me. Our next movie on the list is definitely an outlier. Number 8 is The Half of It, a strikingly simple movie which ties in psychology, art, literature, and more into a modern version of Emma. The odd partnership between our two main characters makes this movie, and in the end, their friendship is much more important than any other romance. I was, however, annoyed by some events in the movie, like the nonsensical cheating on more than one occasion, but otherwise, a very well-made movie which spawns so much emotion from so little. That's art. Moving on, number 7, it's a classic. It's Fight Club. This movie is the darkest I have ever seen. It's like Alice in Wonderland, but a nightmare version. So much pain, deliria, and absurdity has to be commended, and the movie leaves you thinking the world is a much darker place. So yes, well done as a piece of art, but it is exaggerated, at least in my opinion. Barely missing the top 5, The Girl Next Door, a contemporary classic for sure. A surely relatable film about ambitious love, adolescent character building, and good fun. I like the idea that people have two sides to them, or the idea that you have to be different persons sometimes around different people. It's complicated, but there are two beautifully rounded characters in focus in this movie, and a very unpredictable bad guy who is strangely one of the most immoral yet realistic ones I've ever seen. Great movie. Now, what are the top 5 movies, the greatest, or should I say my favorites on this list? Ones I will remember. At number 5, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. So, hear me out, I know it's an odd pick, but I think it's an amazing story of letting go of an ex and finding a new path. Otherwise, I love comedies, and this one did it for me. I love the cast, and the only thing I would complain about is the lackluster ending. Some of my favorites I have a hard time justifying, but from here on out, all certified masterpieces. At number 4, I've placed Anchorman. Now, this is a movie. I love Ron Burgundy and the news team, the chemistry is unreal, and the awkward humor is some of the best ever. It's also fantastic how many underlying messages there are in this film, maybe most importantly the one about females and their often mistreatment in the workplace. Lastly, I just need to emphasize Ron Burgundy is cool. That's all. Like, he plays the jazz flute. What a man. Our bronze medalist, a criminally underrated comedy. We're the Millers. This heartwarming movie of 4 strangers slowly bonding as a real family in one of the most odd circumstances is crazy, but so good. Yes, maybe the whole drug muling storyline is a bit absurd, but I excuse it because the journey is one of a kind and very unpredictable. An absolute favorite of mine. Now we've reached the top 2. Both favorites of mine, but in very different ways. Number 2 is a cinematic masterpiece. It's Whiplash. As a former drummer, this movie hits harder for me maybe than the average viewer, but man, so much good drumming and valuable lessons about mentorship and hard work. I have nothing bad to say about this film. It's beautiful for all the senses. And my favorite movie of the 31 is Adventureland. Being thrown into the shoes of a teenager in a summer job and experiencing his day-to-day, including romances, friendships, annoyances, and learnings, something about it was a nostalgic time bomb, and to me, possibly the most relatable watch I've ever seen. Not only that, but I love the cinematography of this film. It finds beauty in the retro theme park and those beautiful orangey-brown tones. Along with this, we get one of the best soundtracks appropriately themed for the time. And not only this, but the movie integrates the soundtrack into the story and the interactions between our characters. It's masterful. There is beauty in the simplicity and the ironic, terrible, yet amazing place that is Adventureland. That was my list. What a ride, what an experience. I've seen a lot of new movies, and I have to say, I just keep loving them more. If you like this video, leave a like and subscribe, and let me know if you want a part 2. For now, this has been the Third Wind channel, and I'll see you all very soon.